This is the military cemetery at Wiączyn Dolny. Here are buried 4,000 soldiers from the Battle of Łódź, or mainly from the Battle of Łódź, which was fought over a 4-week period, approximately the 8th of November to the 6th of December 1914. This cemetery is roughly 100 meters by 100, just over 1 hectare in total. It's more or less a square shape. On the left hand side we find the Russians, and on the right the Germans. And at the very beginning we have a memory to those Poles who fought on either side, because obviously Poland didn't exist then. It was split between Russia, Austria and Germany, or previously Prussia, and people were conscripted to fight on both sides. Around Łódź there is a tourist trail of places from the First World War, although it is rather difficult to follow. Near here there still can be found emplacements and earthworks from this period. So there's a difference though between the Germans and the Russians, because the Germans have their names. Here we have Rudolf Wechert and then this is unit and the date of death. With the Russians, they're largely mass graves. So here is one we can read quite easily. Most of them are quite difficult to read. Lieutenant, now he was a reserve lieutenant, Reinhold Stübner, and so he died on the 15th of December 1914. That's after Łódź was actually captured by the Germans. So here's one of a gentleman's a bit older. This is Karl von der Heyden. I have a friend with that name, and he was born in 1868 at Itzehoe. That's approximately 50 kilometers northeast of Hamburg, and he died on the 19th of November 1914. My friend with that name is from Frankfurt, but I will mention it to him. Lieutenant Arnold Schimmer, name of his unit 22nd of November 1914, and once more you see name of the unit, date of death, Wilhelm Quark. See, some locals have left the candles probably from the 1st of November, when people come to the cemeteries. This may look as though it's a bit overgrown and all the rest of it, but this is really out in the countryside. There's not many houses around here. To the centre of Łódź, from here, we're looking at around, what, about 15 and 16 kilometres, something like that. I can't read this at all. And I'm probably walking on top of the graves here. The Battle of Łódź was a major battle of manoeuvre which took place over a very large area. I have to say, obviously you take names of the town, but if we think of the entire manoeuvre, that takes in from the south Silesia, from the north Włocławek. So it's in a very large area of what was called Congress Poland, which was part then of Russia, or ceased to be part of Russia and was captured by the Germans. Here we have on the cross. Now it's written in Polish. So it's the place of eternal rest for German soldiers who fell in the First World War, 1914-1918. I think you could agree, though, it's a very pleasant surrounding, particularly on a day like today. This is May and sunny day, 27 degrees. So now going into the Russian part of the cemetery. Now here, it needs to be pointed out that I mentioned about the Poles who are buried here, because they would be conscripted largely by the Russians, but there's also people Polish origin who were conscripted by the Germans as well. The same happened with Italians. You could find Italians conscripted by the Austrians and Italians who were conscripted by the Italians. So here we see very similar, but the cross is different, and this is the place of eternal rest for soldiers of the Russian armies who fell in the First World War, 1914-1918. When this cemetery was laid out, initially there were 798 people buried here, but as they found more and more corpses, as happens in a military situation, then they were brought here. And this was funded by a local industrialist. So he was Polish, but judging from his name, he's of German extraction. And he paid for this to be laid out like this. So with the Russian, sorry, these are not, sorry, they are Russian. A Russian soldier, December 1914. There we have the number of Russian soldiers, November 1914, 24. 20 Russian soldiers, November 1914. It does look as though the graveyard's been abandoned, yes, I'm aware of that, but you can see the fact that people have come in here and left flowers and things. So we've got here the unit, so 96th Corps, 160th Corps, and but they're here mass graves. The Russian army was largely finished, I think, as an effective fighting unit, 1940, as was the Austrian. By the end of 1914, had they only come to peace, it would have made more sense. In fact, it hadn't started in the first place, it would have made more sense. The reserve officers I mentioned earlier, just think only a few months earlier, they had been doing their normal job, whatever that would have been. So, officer graves here, and the name of their unit. So these stones are largely over 100 years old, certainly if it were written, as you saw earlier, in German. So that suggests it was from the period when German military government was here. So it's 1914, end of 1914, beginning of about 90 really. So I hope you found that of interest, and if you did, then you might want to subscribe. I've done a lot of military cemeteries around Europe, various countries, and being a military historian myself, I try to show what the effects of war can be. So, thanks very much for watching.